Welcome to Moment Talk. I'm your host Shiso Moore, and we also have my co-host joining us too. That's Mai Tao on episode 31. We have a guest that's picked up a camera since he was second or third grade. He's a teacher here in the St. Paul, Minneapolis area for 10 years. He's been making movies for 15 years, but it wasn't all free, easy sale. He had a lot of hardship and struggle, and being disapproved from his parents, he went and made 6 movies: 5 Days, Once Upon a Time, Through in Mai, Fallen Cities, Zauchua, and lastly, you all may know or heard of 1985. This gentleman is Kang Vang, and if you haven't yet, give us a rating, or you're a first-time listener, please subscribe. And lastly, let's thank our sponsors. Today's sponsor is brought to you by Shiso's Menswear. Are you looking for the latest trendy men's fashion? Look no further. Shiso's Menswear carries handcrafted bow ties, suit accessories, and everyday streetwear. They are your one-stop mall-inspired men's shop. You can search them online at www.xixomenswear.com. Now let's get back to the show. Hey, we are all excited to be on here today. It's a beautiful, beautiful Sunday in Minnesota. And we also have a co-host with me today, Mai. And guess who we have today? This guy is a director, a film director. You've probably seen him. Well, that's not pun intended. He's the guy behind the scene. But his name is Kang Vang. Hey, Kang, how's it going, man?
Good. Thanks for having me on your show. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, Kang, I think you're definitely not new to the community. I think everybody knows you, even though you're working behind the scene. I think everyone knows the name Kang, because it ties into like one of the greatest movie, I think, in a long time that we've seen.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah,
I'm behind the scenes, so I don't really get to hear my name very often or see my face very often. So so thanks for the recognition.
You are welcome. I know I have to say that I've heard of when your movie 1985 came out. It was actually spoke about for a long time, and I never got the chance to see it until I think there was there was a showing over at I think it was Father Hennepin Park in Minneapolis.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I attended that and I saw it and I fell in love with the movie. And
wow, thank you.
I had to go out there and purchase one, so I actually own a copy of it. So,
Oh, awesome.
yeah, so great job on that. Great job on that.
Well, thank you so much. It was really surprising to me that Minneapolis Parks they reached out to me. So thank you to Ying from Minneapolis Parks. She did a great job coordinating everything. It was a huge turnout. I was quite surprised.
Oh yeah. It was a beautiful night. Yes, it was.
Yes.
Can you tell the listeners one thing we do not know about you?
Oh boy, one thing they don't know about me. I am really, this sounds really bad, but I'm actually really enjoying this coronavirus thing because I get to be home. I'm very much a recluse. I stay at home. I don't go out very much. I don't appear out in parties or things like that. So I'm really enjoying staying home.
So now you'll have even a better excuse. Like, you guys, I'm just trying to keep you guys all healthy.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. Oh no, I mean another thing. I'm actually very into archery. Not like hunting. I don't like hunting. But I'm really into archery, using traditional bows, things like that. I'm a bowyer. I make bows as well. So that's one of my hobbies. Yeah.
Oh, so that's one of your other secret talent that we don't know of.
Well, I'm very new at it. I just started making bows, and so I've made just a handful of bows. But yeah, it's very therapeutic for me. So yeah, I guess.
Well, that's awesome. That is maybe one day you do like a sepando one day, that'd be great too.
Yeah. I would love to. I would love to learn how. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a skill.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
When's the last time you've been to the archer range then?
Oh, last fall, right
Okay.
before the snows came. Yeah, I usually head out there every chance I get, if I'm not too busy. I kind of put a range in our basement at home, and so during the winter, I get to shoot downstairs in our basement, which is kind of nice. It's not a huge basement or anything. It's probably like uh, it's like a 10 to 15 yard range only, so it's pretty short. Yeah.
Okay, so do you go to outdoor archery or indoors?
Oh, I'd rather do outdoors if
Okay,
I can. Yeah.
okay. I've never been to an outdoor ones, but the indoors are pretty fun too.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm sure outdoors is so much better.
yeah, yeah. I enjoy more outdoors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Um, I'm gonna go a little bit far back here. You've been
Hmm.
making movies for 15 years now
Hmm.
and continue on to do so. You first picked up a camcorder. We're talking this old school camcorder. It's probably heavy as a, I don't know, launching grenade. That's so
Yeah,
heavy. But that was back in second and third grade. How did you
yeah.
know that was the first thing to pick up? It's not guitar, it's not archery, but that specific
Hmm.
equipment.
Well, actually, I actually started off drawing a lot. You know, I drew on every single little piece of paper I could find. I drew, especially comic book characters like the X-Men. Huge fan of. I'm a huge Marvel fan from an early age.
Oh,
Huge Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan. I know everything there is about the Ninja Turtles.
wow. Okay.
Quite a nerd about that stuff. So I drew a lot, and then my dad just bought a video camera, um, just to document our family. We would just stand in the line and introduce ourselves, and say our age and grade and stuff like that, just so you can document those sort of things as we grew up. Um, and then eventually, I started just picking up the camera and just started, asking my brothers and sisters to act in my movies. We were home during the summers, there's nothing to do, so we would just shoot movies. And I just fell in love with it.
Awesome.
Um, I was able to take my artistic skills and being someone who drew and who read comic books into bringing these stories to life, onto a TV screen. And so that just kind of stuck with me ever since I was a young kid. Yeah.
Wow. So how old would you say you were at that time?
Oh, probably, I don't know. I think second or third grade was when my dad first got the camera. So whatever age range that is, I'm not even sure what age that is around, but it's around the second or third grade. Yeah.
Wow. So you must have had a really big imagination, to be able to like
Yeah.
draw and then kind of like transition into having your siblings act for you and recording it. That's quite an imagination.
Yeah, yeah. I think I come from a very creative family.
Mm.
Um, my dad, he would never admit it, but he's an artist at heart. He's a musician. He plays the Hmong instruments. He likes to draw. He's an architect. And my older sister, she is a professional painter. She does fine arts. She's also a writer. She's publishing a Hmong fantasy novel. You
Oh,
know, and so my brothers all they're also artists as well, so I come from a very creative family, so it just felt very natural for me to just to pick up a camera and just to work with it. you know it's always just been a part of my life for as long as I could remember. Yeah.
You mentioned your dad. I wanted to bring your dad back up too.
Hmm.
You've been doing this industry for 15 years now, but
Hmm.
I know your dad highly, highly disapproved of you getting into filming. And he
Yeah.
probably wanted you to be typical, Hmong doctor, Hmong lawyer, and you don't come
Hmm.
back home, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Could you tell me your pretty much your the stab in the heart from your dad? Could you tell me how that feeling is?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it was a stab at first until I learned his lesson. You know, he wanted, of course, he wanted us to be doctors and lawyers, and for me, I was never really a studious kid, you know. I never I never excelled in school. I have two brothers who are going to be doctors now, a
Mhm.
sister-in-law who's a lawyer, and
Mhm.
so they fulfilled my dad's dream on that end already. But for me, um, my um, I went into a junior medical program with my sister in high school, and so we get to follow doctors around and see what they did, and learned how it was being a doctor and stuff like that. And I was just bored out of my brain. I could not see myself doing that for the rest of my life. I
Mhm.
had absolutely zero interest in it, you know. And so then I just figured that um, if I did something like that, I would never be happy. I would never be satisfied. I would never be fulfilled. And
Mhm.
so then, I just pursued other things and put my filmmaking in the back burner as a hobby, you know. And whenever my dad asked, or whenever anybody asked what I did as a job, my dad would say, "Oh, he's a teacher," because I'm a teacher as well. I teach, and
Don't
so he
mention
would
the other
tell.
part. Just mention the teacher.
And so yeah, but yeah. So then my dad would just tell everybody that I'm a teacher, and it wasn't. Let's see, I'm forgetting which film it was that I did. Because
Two
even
in
now,
my maybe.
it may be Two in My, it may be even before Two in My.
Once upon a time.
Yeah, it might have been Once Upon a Time because that was a little bit reflective of what I was going through in college. But yeah, but my dad would never. He would even still today. My dad would still be like, "Oh, give up those foolish dreams. Those are just you're a grown ass man now. You have a family. You got to take care of your family." And I'm like, I am taking care of my family. I'm providing. So I want to do this the way I want to do it. Um,
Mhm.
and But during that time, I almost gave up filmmaking. I
Mhm.
came so close because my parents both were like, "Okay, it's time to give up this foolishness. You've been playing around for too long. It's time to give it up. It's not too late to get a real life, get a real job, things like that."
Mhm.
And I was on the verge of giving it up. And my dad is like, and then I had a breakdown, and then one day my dad just came to me and he said, um, if you wanted this to do what you're doing this bad, me saying this to you wouldn't affect you. You still
Wow.
do it despite of this.
That's
You
big.
know,
Mhm.
yeah.
Say. Can you remember saying that in Hmong exact word for word? What he
I
said to
don't
you?
remember exactly
Okay.
what the words were. You
Yeah, that's
know,
big though.
yeah, but I remember that was the essence of what he was trying to say to me, and
Mm.
that blew my freaking mind. I was like, "Holy!" My dad was testing me this whole time. You know, it's like if I really wanted to do this, I would do this no matter what anyone said.
Mhm.
I would find a way to do it, you know, and yeah, that just blew my mind. And so then after that, like all the pain, the years of pain that of my parents yelling at me to quit this foolishness and stuff, that disappeared.
Mm.
That disappeared. And yeah, I think that was right before I did Two and My. So then I just launched myself in full steam. I just jumped in and just went all out after that.
Did you feel
So
like it almost felt like you have a little chip on your shoulder in a good way, towards your dad
yeah.
and mom, like in a good way. Like it's more of like a watch me, dad. I could do this. Just watch me.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. Um I think that I did have a little bit of chip on my shoulder saying, "Hey, I'm going to prove it to you that I can do it." But then after a while you kind of think about it and you're like, it's not worth it to do this to prove it to them. I need to prove this to myself. you
Mhm.
know
Mhm.
I need to prove why I've been doing this all these years. You know, think about it. It's been more than 15 years. My first my first feature film came out in 1999. You know,
Oh, this was
5 days,
fun.
5 days, right?
yeah, 5 days.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you were a teenager by then, man.
yep. I was 19 years
Wow.
old. Yeah,
5 days.
Nine,
Okay.
yep. My
Wow.
first theatrical
Yeah.
film. Yep,
Yeah, I
was in
saw that
'99.
like in 99. I mean, you were a teenager and you
Yeah.
were already doing that already. That's so awesome. And I mean, shortly after that,
hmm
so that was your first feature film after your dad said that to you.
Um, no. My after my dad it after my dad said that to me, I think I made two in my.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because it
yeah.
was like 5 days,
Five
once upon a
days.
time,
Yep. And then,
2
yep.
and then you got into obviously Fallen Cities,
hmm
and then Zauchua,
hmm
and of course, I honestly didn't know you who you are or what you
hmm
did till 1985.
Yeah, yeah.
I think
Most
they gave,
people.
I think the movie they really did give you a lot of exposure because I think it was done in such a way where it related so much to everybody.
hmm
But how you crafted it, it was so real but so funny.
Well,
And
thank you.
the
Yeah.
actors and actresses you had on there, I swear they were so good. Um, but I think that's why it related. That's why you just exploded, with that movie. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but I wanted to actually pull back to where when you said you had a breakdown when before your
hmm
dad came and spoke that to you. I know when a lot of people talk about breakdown, like why did you have a breakdown? Was it because you were struggling between what your passion was and then following what you thought your parents wanted, or was it or did you already battle with an inner um, you that was
hmm
trying to even ask yourself, like, is this really for me? Like it had really nothing to do with your parents. You were just wondering, is this really
Right.
for me? Am I meant for this? Like, what, why
hmm
did you break down?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it definitely was my parents' reaction.
Mm,
In my heart, in my mind, I don't know anything else but filmmaking. You
mm,
know, this
okay.
is all I know. I mean, this is all I think about. This is what I've, shaped my life after, so I don't know anything else about filmmaking. I may have other jobs and stuff, but it's just to pay the bills. It's not, you know, it's not really a part of who I am.
And how did
But
you know it was who you are? How did you know this was like my thing?
mhm,
Because a lot of people have like a lot of hobbies. Like,
yeah,
how did you know this was me?
I think that it's your thing when, despite the world falling down around you, falling down on top of you, everybody, uh, tearing you apart, uh, you still do it. You're still comfortable with it. I am most comfortable on a set. you know
Mm,
I'm most comfortable on the set when I am shooting my films, when I'm behind the computer editing my films,
mm.
um, talking to actors, talking to crew members. It feels so natural. It's just like breathing. I feel like. Um,
So you were eating, breathing,
hmm
sleeping with that.
yeah, yeah,
Mhm. Mm,
yeah. And so it's the most natural thing to me. you
okay.
know it's when I step off the set that I get kind of awkward. you know
Oh, okay.
uh yeah, I
Back
get.
to archery.
Yeah.
Yep, back to archery.
Yep. uh
You know,
yeah.
No, that's really good to know.
hmm
your parents was very, very disapprove all
hmm
your films until 1985.
hmm
However, what surprised me and more surprised you was your dad came out to the
yeah.
movie theater to watch that
hmm
particular show, and he almost didn't even have a seat because it
yeah.
was sold out in three theaters.
Yeah.
Can you
Yeah.
tell me what was your inner expression at that very point?
Yeah. I seeing my parents there, I was overjoyed. you know uh this was the first film that my dad has ever come to any of my showings,
That's correct.
and I think it shocked him. You
Mm.
know, it shocked him. He was like, "Holy crap! All these people, you know, all these people came out." And so, yeah, he was quite surprised, and he was laughing his butt off during the movie too. I
Of
snuck over, you
course.
know, and I looked at him. He was laughing his butt off, you know. And so, and he recognizes the stories that I was telling because a lot of it I pulled from my own life, you know. And so I'm sure he recognized some of the stories that I was telling through that film. But you know, he did change a little bit after that. You know, nowadays it's more like, hey, um, uh, you need to make a movie about this. You
Mm.
need to make a movie about this. Yeah, yeah. You need to come and film us. You know, you need to come because he's a very very highly respected person in the
Okay.
community. He's an elder in the community. He's a community leader, and
Mm.
so he's like, yeah, you need to come and film this. You need to come and film that. You know, so now he's pulling me places, and you know, uh, yeah. So it's changed. You know, it's changed.
At that point, it seemed
Hmm.
like it didn't even it didn't even hit your dad until he realized what you're doing,
Hmm.
your dad does in the community. Because at one point you said, "Dad, I'm just like you. I do all this work for the community. It's not
Hmm.
for me."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think he understood at that point. You know, he told me to quit playing around, quit wasting time. I need to go get a real job and do this and that. And then, you know, I said that, you know, and he finally realized that, holy crap, my son is just like me. I'm out here, you know, busting my butt off for the community, trying to improve it in the way that I know how, you know, because my dad, you know, he isn't a educated man, but he's a very, very smart man.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he's out there every day working his butt off for free, volunteering, you know, to better the community. And when he understood that that's what I'm doing as well, but I'm just doing it in the way that I know how, you
Mm-hmm.
know, he took a step back, you know, which is sort of, uh, it's kind of a very rare thing for my dad, the man who knows everything, you know. I think he saw me in a different light at that moment, you know.
I'm assuming from then your dad must see your other siblings different too. Then, the way pretty much whatever career path they choose, he's just more than supportive than kind of like
Yeah,
doubting them. So he kind of
yeah.
like, because I'm referring this to you now. That's what I'm
Mm-hmm.
referring to versus your
Mm-hmm.
siblings. If they say
Yeah.
if your brother wants to go to I don't know, martial artist for example, he's just like all supportive of that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's
Okay.
hope so,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the thing is that, you know, Hmong parents will be Hmong parents, you know.
Mhm.
Even though my brother, he initially was, I have a younger brother, he initially was a corrections officer. You know, he has
Mm.
his master's degree in law, in uh, political science or law enforcement. Um, he he decided to go and become a doctor,
Mm.
um, for my dad because my dad's always wanted a son who's a doctor, you know.
I'm
So
sorry, I have to laugh because like it's so typical. Because I know I mentioned that right in the beginning, a doctor and a lawyer.
mhm.
It's like, Ken, if you're not a doctor or lawyer, don't come back home, right?
Yep, yep. And so I have two brothers who are getting to that right now. Yeah.
Okay. When you record or make your movies, do you
Oh,
do it with kind of a message in mind? Like, I'm going to put this movie out there because I want to
Inspire
send a
somebody
message.
or yeah.
Um, I don't know. When I make these films, I usually don't think too much about the message that I'm trying to bring.
Okay.
You know, I think more about the story.
Okay.
And for some reason, it's a story that I just have to tell. You
Oh,
know,
okay. So it's kind of like your own story. Is your
right?
story influenced?
Hmm.
Oh, okay.
I mean, there are certain times in certain films that uh, the community has affected me. So then I wanted to make a film in response to that.
Okay.
Um, like in the movie Once Upon a Time,
Hmm.
um, I was seeing that the gang violence was getting out of hand, and at that time, one of my cousins was just shot. He was just killed due to gang violence, and so I wanted to just to make a film just to express what's going on in the community. You
Oh,
know, and
awesome.
the funny thing is that my films have been brought into the universities, the colleges, and they're being taught alongside in some of the social studies classes. You know,
Oh, okay.
um, like once upon a time, they studied it to talk about gang violence among family structures,
Hmm,
things like that. Which I did not intend that to happen at all.
right.
And then then like Two and My was about the Hmong uh, refugees coming from Thailand in
Mhm.
the 90s and early 2000s. And again, they brought that into the schools and universities to study it because
Hmm,
there was no content being made about that, that historical moment,
okay.
And so even though it was just a romantic comedy, a fictional romantic comedy, they were bringing it into
Oh,
the schools and they were studying it and they were trying to teach it to their students as
well,
part
that
of the
has
social
got you
studies
made you.
curriculum.
That has probably got you like jumping up and down, like, oh my gosh, my work is being recognized as a
Mhm.
learning tool.
Yeah, yeah. Again, I did not expect that.
Of
I did not expect that to happen, but they do that. And same with 1985.
hmm
Now they were looking at it, and using it as like a learning tool about Hmong people in the 80s and 90s
Yeah.
about how we interacted with American society, and I'm just like, you guys know that this is a fictional film, right? It's drawn from real life
Not very
situations, but it is a
fictional.
fictional film, yeah. So I don't think about the message. I just think more about the story that's being told.
Hmm.
And then, for some reason, people, they interpret the stories into whatever message they want, and sometimes it's used as a learning tool, learning experience, and sometimes it's just viewed as
Hmm.
entertainment. Yeah.
Yeah, so about 1985, we're
Hmm.
going to talk a little bit about that, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about what's coming up next, man.
Okay, sure, absolutely.
1985, to be honest, and thanks to coronavirus, I am going to sit at home and watch it. I honestly have not seen it. I have seen
uh,
your other works,
hmm.
but you brought up a great idea to have family in and sit down and have a
Hmm.
movie night, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I will watch that. Can you tell us some more work that's going to be you're working on? Can you give a sneak peek?
Sure, sure. I'm working on a web series right now. Um, and it was created by a Hmong actor named Gregory Yang. He's a professional Hmong actor um, and budding screenwriter. And it's right now it's called the Green Project. We don't know if that's going to be its official title or we don't know if it's going to be the official title or if it's just the code name for the project. But it's about it's going to be like a dramedy, dramatic comedy about marijuana in the Hmong community. You
Hmm.
know, and so we're shooting this one to go to streaming media like Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, things like that. So we want to push the quality up another notch to get it into those streaming systems. Um, yeah.
So what
I,
do you hope that our Hmong community gets from your movies? Because I know that when you earlier said that you're doing it for the Hmong community. What do you hope
mhm.
that our Hmong community gets from watching your movies? Because you said storytelling.
Yeah, storytelling. I don't know. I think more importantly, I want us to acknowledge that we are important, you
Mm,
know, that we are significant, that we have uh, a place in this world that, because I think Hmong people, we by nature, we tend to look down on ourselves, you know,
yes.
we just tend to look down on ourselves. And uh, if you think about going to the theater to watch movies,
Mm-hmm.
um, I think it's like, Caucasians and African Americans and a lot of other races and ethnicities, they have always been represented on the big screen. You
Mm,
know,
yeah.
even Asian Americans through the Chinese, Koreans, Vietnamese, even Cambodian, even have been represented on the big screen.
Yeah.
But Hmong people, very, very, very few films have been on the big screen. You
Yeah.
know, and when you see things on the big screen, they become larger than life. You know,
Mhm.
and so then like heroes become superheroes, and you know, um, everything is just accentuated 10 times. And so when you show something that is very proud and very meaningful on the big screen, that emotion grows 10 times inside of a person,
Yes.
you know. And so when I do my films, I've since the beginning, I've always pushed my films to be shown on the big screen,
Mhm.
um, because I wanted our Hmong audience members to see themselves 10 times as big as they are, 100 times as big as they are, and that changes the psychology, I feel, of like how we see ourselves,
Mhm.
especially if it's in film like 1985. uh that's our story on a big screen,
Yeah.
being told 10 times as big as, bigger than life, and so when I was walking out of the theater, a young girl came up to me, and she was like, uh this is the first time I saw myself, you know
Wow, that's huge.
yeah. And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, like in movies and stuff. And it's so funny because she's like, this is what white people must feel like all the time. She was just so proud of herself and her
Yeah.
heritage. I mean, the things that, if you don't see yourself being shown back to you in a positive way,
Hmm.
then what's the other way that you would start to see yourself? Is in a negative way,
That is
and
so
so
true. And thank you so much for doing that because I'm even at the 1985 showing when I was there at the park. Like it
mhm.
was such a diverse crowd
Yeah,
over there.
absolutely.
And I think for many of them, it was the first time ever seeing Hmong people portrayed in that way and really
Hmm.
hearing our story as immigrants here in America.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
so thank you so much for doing that. It's so needed. And like I said, I do agree that I think Big Mo, a lot of the time we still do negate a lot of our talents and our skills and our abilities,
Hmm.
and
Absolutely.
to continue to hear stories like yours and many of our other guests that we have on already. It's so
Hmm.
inspiring.
Yeah.
Next artist, for the next actor, for the next film producer,
Hmm.
um, to go outside the box. You
Yeah.
know, it doesn't
Absolutely.
have to be just a doctor or a lawyer or a teacher. Just go
Hmm.
outside the box and be committed to what your passion is, and anybody can make it.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. And not just thinking outside the box in terms of what you're doing, but
Hmm.
what you're providing these services for. You
Hmm.
know,
Yes.
like if you are creating things just for the Hmong community, you're already limiting yourself. You
Yeah.
know, um, you got to be creating your artwork for everybody.
Yeah.
You know,
Thank you for saying
it,
that. That's so
yeah,
important.
yeah, because it's like, my films, like I've made these presentations in the colleges and universities, and then the Somali kids would come up to me and be like, we relate to that so much. The Vietnamese kids come up, oh, that's our story too, you know? So these are universal stories that's being told through, it's just being told through the Hmong lens, but
Yes.
the stories themselves are universal, you know?
Very true.
Yeah. And I think that brings us together more than if we're just to present this film to Hmong people as just the Hmong story.
You know, you being a film director, is there a film director that's out there that you looked inspired and you may like their work?
Are you talking about just Hmong film directors or any
Overall, man.
filmmaker
Overall.
overall?
Yep,
Oh
make out,
yeah.
doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I grew up watching a lot of John Woo movies, like
Mm.
The Killer, Bullet in the Head. These are action movies. And so cinematography wise, I sort of find myself, you know, my cinematography style is more of like John Woo's, where the camera is moving a lot.
Mm-mm.
Um, Also, I've latched onto his themes of honor and friendship, and there's a code of respect among people that's found throughout a lot of his films. Um, it's like growing up, we watched a lot of the Chinese films, and so I love uh, Zhang Yimou films. He's one of my favorite filmmakers. Choi Hark is another one of my favorite filmmakers. And then nowadays, I find myself not watching very many Hollywood movies.
Mm-mm.
They're entertaining, uh, but they don't give you the same feeling of, well, they didn't give me the same feeling of when I was younger watching these Chinese films, Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so, um,
What are you
yeah,
looking
but
for? I
mhm.
mean, when you say that it's not as entertaining. What are you looking for?
I don't know. I think I'm looking for uh, a story or a voice in the film that just speaks to you, speaks to your soul, speaks
Mm,
to a part of you that doesn't sort of dumb you down. What I'm finding
mm,
with a lot of the Hollywood films these days is that it kind of dumbs you down. It gives you these very flat surface jokes. It doesn't make you think. I
mm.
think that's the part that's missing the most for me, is that it doesn't make you think. It's telling you everything. It's putting
Gotcha.
everything on the surface, and so, and they're more for shock value and for the aesthetics of the graphics more than the storytelling, more than the characters, things like that. Very unfortunately, um, the Korean film industry is booming, and I think over the last 10 years or so, uh, 10 15 years or so, the Korean film industry has given me a lot of hope back in cinema, you
Oh
know.
yeah.
Um, and so, like Parasite has won,
Yes,
the
I was
best
just
picture.
gonna say that. Are you a fan of Parasite?
I loved Parasite. That was freaking awesome,
I
I was
did
gonna ask you that.
too.
Yeah. But then,
It was a
watching, oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh no, I was just saying it was actually really exceeded my expectations when I saw it. I was glued onto the TV. And
Hmm.
I haven't seen a Korean movie or a drama in a long time.
Hmm.
So I had a lot of
Yeah.
expectations for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but if you follow that filmmaker's work, I forget his name, but I've
Mm.
seen like Old Boy. Old Boy blew my mind. I
Oh,
mean, that
okay.
that changed the way I saw film, and that was so refreshing. That was so beautiful. It was like watching a movie again for the first time, And so, I'm very happy that the Korean film industry is being recognized now, because they understand that Korean cinema is the future, you know, the future of Hollywood, the future of cinema itself.
You
Uh,
mentioned Parasites.
mhm.
Have you seen Kingdom?
I have, yes,
Okay, so
yes,
obviously we're not gonna spoil any of the story play, but
right.
just the overall action of it and etc. What's your take on that?
Oh, it's amazing. It is completely amazing how they're telling this horror story in a period piece. I
Mm.
think it's brilliant. It's my favorite show right now on Netflix. So yeah.
I'm a fan as
I
well.
haven't jumped on that bandwagon yet. Maybe one day.
I'm guilty. Over
Yeah.
this weekend, since I was quarantined, I just binged it. I totally binged. I
Yeah.
became a zombie myself. I binged it.
I'm pacing myself with Kingdom. You know, my wife and I we're sitting down. We're watching one episode a night, so we're pacing ourselves.
Very disciplined.
Yep. And so we can sit back and have a discussion about the episodes after we watch it. So it's quite
Oh,
nice
love
that way.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
So, what's your wife's favorite part about Kingdom?
I think she is amazed at the storytelling
Mm.
portion of it. She hates horror films.
Same as I.
Yeah, she absolutely hates horror films, but she loves this series because of the storytelling, because of the drama, the characters, the interactions, the complexity of the characters, you know. Yeah, so
Mm.
she's really into it.
I
All
will.
right, King, you're almost persuaded me to jump on that Kingdom bandwagon, man.
You should, you should.
You
You get
should.
addicted too.
No, I don't know. I'll give it some time.
Okay.
I have another one for you too. Just
Mhm.
about a year ago, you rounded up a group of friends and
Yeah.
you started a short film YouTube series was inspired by The Office. It was called the Hmong
Yes.
Organization. I did
Yes.
see a few skits on it. It is hilarious.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we can thank Mei Li Yang and Peter Yang for that. The two head writers. Uh,
Okay.
Mei Li Yang is an incredible writer. She's a professional playwright. She's been writing theater forever. You know, she's one of the OGs in theater, especially for our Hmong our Hmong writers. So her and
Ah.
Peter, yeah, they're huge fans of The Office, and they've been writing this tribute series called Hmong Organization, which is based on a lot of real things, you know.
Uh-huh.
And
It
so
is
we decided,
hilarious. I'm
yeah,
I'm saddened that the Indiegogo Kickstarter style did
mhm,
not go to its expectation to fund
right,
it.
right.
So that's why
You
it
know,
never came about. But just watching a
yeah,
few episodes of it was just hilarious.
yeah. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was brilliant work. You know, it was really fun working with two amazing writers with a incredibly talented cast and crew. A lot of them are first-time actors. I
Mm.
think we have a couple of seasoned actors in there, like Hua Yang,
Yep.
who
Well, yeah,
plays
yeah.
Michael.
Hmm.
He's been in almost every single one of my films since I started making movies.
I
I
look.
love
Um,
it. So his character was also named Michael.
right,
Yep.
yep,
Oh.
yep. His character is also named Michael.
Oh,
And then
okay. So can we
we
watch
have,
this on YouTube?
oh
Oh
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
It's on
Oh
YouTube.
yeah.
It's
Okay.
free. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
Oh,
for those who
okay.
are listening and
I
haven't
would
seen it, I'll link.
definitely have to go
Yeah,
look at that.
I'll for those who haven't seen it, I'll link it on on the show notes and
yeah,
on the contents. So you'll see the Hmong organization, and the acronym is just hilarious for it too.
yeah.
Um, I'm not gonna say it,
HO.
but yeah, I'm not gonna say it. But all right. But yeah, it was
Yeah.
just so funny and hilarious. And what was your take on that? What did they have you do in there?
I was the director, so
Okay.
I directed those first that first pilot episode, which we started broken down into 4 mini episodes.
Okay.
Um, yeah, we really wanted to continue, and we still might continue. You know, perhaps the timing just isn't right, but you know, we're continuing to look for funding and talking to folks about it. I would love to, you know, do the show, even if we don't have money.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you know, if the you know once the writers complete the next few episodes, you know, we might just go ahead and shoot it. So I would love to. It was one of the funnest sets I've ever been on. Everybody was just having a good time. You know, a lot of the first time actors have gone off and done other films, other short films, other shows, things
Oh,
like
that's
that. So
wonderful.
yeah, yeah,
I was looking at the donations, and there was even a donation up in the 4 figures that you could be a little bit part play in the show. I'm like,
yes,
yes, I want to be in the show. I'm willing to donate and be just a little bit of the part of the screen.
yeah,
I'll be on,
yeah.
on the screen for a little bit. That'd be so cool.
Yeah, yeah. So we never know. You know, some of these shows they might just fizzle out for now, but they might come back. You know, so we never know what will happen in the future. Yeah.
Well, one thing I do know is, people, they're always looking for well-crafted, funny
Hmm.
films out there.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think people crave for that, and for me, I love movies, but I do find that even nowadays it's so hard to find a good comedy to
Hmm.
just watch and really enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, since you guys did so well in 1985, I
Yes.
think, have you guys all finish that, we will all love it so much because if it's like The Office, that'd be awesome. I'm a big, big fan of The Office. So
Oh yeah, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I'm
absolutely.
looking forward to that.
Thanks. I want to plug some other projects that I've been working on. I've worked with a very, very talented filmmaker named Chu Zhang, and he's the
Mm.
director. He's the founder of Charlie Productions. So he's
Oh, yeah.
come out with two films. The first one is The Crush. It's a horror comedy. So if you like comedy, this one cracked me up.
I
It's
did see
hilarious.
that.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
I laughed so hard in the theater.
yeah.
So
So
hard.
I have a small role in that one too, but yeah, Chu, if I think he is going to be one of these filmmakers to look out for in the Hmong community. He's up and coming. He's got a lot of great ideas. He's very passionate about filmmaking, very determined, and those are some
Hmm.
of the things that you need to be a successful filmmaker,
For
so.
sure. For
Mhm.
Sure.
sure. It's so awesome to see so many rising film producers and actors and actresses in our community.
Yes,
It is
yes.
so nice to see that.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. And I mean, we have Hmong filmmakers in Hollywood,
mm-hmm,
that's the amazing thing. We
mm-hmm.
got the Vang brothers, Burley and Abel, out in Hollywood, and they're doing their thing out there. So that's freaking
Man,
amazing. Yeah,
it really is.
yeah,
You're
Well,
doing what you're doing.
yeah.
yeah.
Well, this is pretty much gonna end the last question.
Hmm.
And Ken, can
Yes.
you give our young upcoming or is a director, film director,
Hmm.
a big word of advice from your experience of
Yeah,
15 years and counting?
yeah. Well, I think the first bit of advice is, uh, you know, don't waste time. Go out there and start doing it. A lot of people feel like they're held back. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
always saying, "Oh, we don't have money, we don't have crew, we don't have camera equipment, we don't have this, we don't have that." Part of being a creative person, an artist, a filmmaker, a painter, a musician is not only having the resources but also being resourceful. You know, we
Mm-hmm.
have to use our creativity in being resourceful. Finding ways to find that money if you need it. If you can't find that
Mm-hmm.
money, how else can you make this film? There's a lot of very, very awesome organizations out there that have equipment for you to borrow for free. You know,
Mm-hmm.
these are industry equipment. Very, very high end cameras, very high end lighting equipment for you to go and learn how to use this equipment and use it for free. Um, like if you're in the Twin Cities, I want to plug an organization that I teach. I'm a mentor at. It's called In Progress, and it's in St. Paul.
Oh yeah.
Yep, inprogress.org, and we teach film production, and we also have professional equipment for you to check out to shoot your films.
Okay.
And in progress was critical for me in my early stages as a filmmaker. I've been with them since 1999,
Okay.
starting off as a student and then now being a mentor. They helped me shoot, edit, finish my first feature film. And now I'm trying to give back by being a mentor to other young up and coming filmmakers through them. But be resourceful, be resourceful. Don't let not having resources be an excuse for you not to make films, or
Right.
whatever artwork that you do.
That's so true. And
Um,
you said it was you said it was www is it www.inprogress.com
.org,
dot
.org.
org. Okay.
Yeah,
All right. Well, make sure you drop that down. So anybody out there
yeah.
that's in the process of becoming a film
Hmm.
maker, producer, definitely check that out. I think that's a great resource. Thanks for dropping that in, King.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, there are a ton of other organizations. Also, I used to work at one called Asian Media Access, and they're
Mm-hmm.
in Minneapolis.
Mm-hmm.
Again, they teach media production as well, and again, they helped me at a young age to push me to become a filmmaker. They have resources. camera equipment, they have sound equipment, they have a studio space there, they have computers to edit. So there's really no excuse for young people not to be making films. There's resources out there, especially if you're here in the Twin Cities. You just have to do some research and go out there and make your movies.
Right, because the answer is not going to fall in your lap, right? You have to go out
Right,
there and
right.
look for it.
You have to go out there and look for it. Exactly. Yeah.
Thank
Oh
you
my
so
gosh.
much for your wise word, King. And
Yeah.
we're
No.
very,
Thanks
very
again for
appreciative.
thanks again for having me on your show. This is wonderful. You two do great work. And yeah. Thanks again. This is wonderful. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. We look forward to the many, many, many new projects that's coming on your way. And also, new other producers out there like Tully Productions and many other ones. I know The Stranger is, one of the new projects that
Oh,
came out
yeah.
recently. So yeah, we
Brian's
have
film.
so many new projects out there along with yours that we all look forward to see.
Yeah.
So thank you for doing what you're doing. Thank you for doing it for the community, not just the Hmong community, but for all communities.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I mean, one last thing before I go, I do want to give a shout out to all the filmmakers who came before me too.
Oh
I'm
yes.
not a first at anything. There were many, many filmmakers that came before, Hmong filmmakers that came before me that I look up
Oh
to so
yeah.
much. Like Mo Lee, for an example. He's the Hmong filmmaker that I idolize. He was a mentor of mine, and him and Kao Chang, they are coming out with some amazing, amazing projects in the future. So watch out for them as well. So I
What
just want
movies
to give
did
them a shout out.
they make in the past?
They made one. Oh my God. Uh, it was a Thai film,
Okay.
a Hmong Thai film that
Mm.
went in a bunch of Thai theaters. It's probably one of the
Ah.
most beautifully shot, professionally shot, Hmong produced films out there.
Interesting. Okay.
So, my God, the name escapes my mind right now, but they did that. They did a film called, Kao Chang did a film called Gao Nya. But Mo
Okay.
Lee has been in this industry forever. The Hmong industry, he's been paving the way for forever and ever and ever. And yeah, I can't thank him enough as an older brother, as a mentor to me, and to a lot of us other young filmmakers that are up and coming as well. So, but he's still at it as well. He's still at it, and he's still coming out with stuff. So we
Cool.
got to go back and support our other filmmakers as well, young and new and old.
Cool. Thank you. Well,
That's totally awesome.
thanks again.
All right.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks for coming on. It's a pleasure to have you on. We
Well, thanks everyone
will
for listening. Yeah.
see you around and
Absolutely.
look forward to your new projects. All right. You have a great night.
Yeah. You too as well. Thank you.
That ends our episode. If you haven't yet, visit our official website at www.hmongmentalk.com or like and share us on Facebook at Hmong Men Talk.
Who also believes in building family values. She believes not only in investing in your future, but also investing in your present moment, creating time and memories with your family. If you have any insurance needs or any questions, please don't hesitate to call her at the link below.
Also, a special thanks to DJ Peter for using his beats. You can check him out at YouTube.